I'm in Max. You are listening to Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. I'm in Max. Pursuing the RPG hobby with reckless abandon.
Why, hello.
Hello.
And welcome, and adjusting levels. Welcome to season 24, episode 16 of Happy Jack's RPG Podcast. My name is Stu.
My name is Kimmy.
And I'm Tappy.
And in this episode, Corbin Twa writes in about players intentionally failing dice rolls. Joe Crack writes in about player versus character knowledge, which I think we talked about last week or the week before. Mm-hmm. And then Steven SoCal discusses playing otherworldly beings, which is apropos because I'm going to be running Call of Cthulhu in 2 days.
Are you?
2 days.
2 days.
Wait, running otherworldly beings or playing otherworldly beings?
I think he said running.
I think both.
Oh, no, he says playing.
Cool.
We'll have to find out. Mm-hmm. But first, if you'd like to email us, you can email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. We have social medias. First off, we have our social media.
Yeah.
Social medium.
No.
Talk to spirits.
happyjacksforum.com.
Yes.
happyjacksforum.com.
Yes.
And then Twitter, happyjacksrpg, all one word. And Instagram, happyjacksrpg, all one word. And Facebook, happyjacksrpg, all one word. And MeWe, happyjacksrpg, all one word. And I posted twice on there today. I'm like, I haven't posted in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, he does not post on it. Like, just to be clear, do not waste your social media time there.
There are people
Or
coming.
you could. If you had
want
some to spare.
Yeah. If you want to wait every 4 weeks for one post.
No, it hasn't been 4 weeks. It's been 3.
3, I'm sorry.
I don't know how Melee works, but they could like talk to each other and stuff.
Meweans. That's the best part about it, is the name. Mewee!
I feel like the only reason, like, he just likes saying it.
It's funny. It's funny. And if you'd like to watch the show live, you can watch it at happyjacks.org/live, and we do it at 5 or 7 p.m.-ish Pacific time until Pacific Daylight Time right now.
Oh, God.
And there you go. And we have a game convention coming up Labor Day weekend.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And JackerCon is still going on right now.
JackerCon is still going on right now.
Yep, until, what day is it? I think till tomorrow or Sunday. This weekend is the end. It's been going on for a week.
Come out tomorrow.
And I think we had 11 different games.
Oh, cool.
So
excellent.
Yeah.
So it's on an uptick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Very exciting. So next time we'll have even more.
Yes. Intentionally failing dice rolls from Corbin Twa. Good evening, Jackers. It's been a minute, but I, the great illustrious Corbin Twa, am back.
Yay!
And I have a question, but first, have a drink. Now, should I have beer or wine?
Beer.
Beer.
¿Por qué no los dos?
Mm-hmm.
I just have to say, 2 of my band members right now are in the UK, and every picture they send is them drinking nothing but Guinness. And I told them...
What?
I told them, God is my witness, if you go through England and Scotland and Ireland and don't try any beers besides Guinness, I will personally slap you when you get back here. Because especially in London, they have the real ale movement in the pubs, and some of that stuff is shockingly amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they don't post it, then it doesn't matter if they did anyway. There's no proof of it, so you can still slap
I will
them.
slap them. Now they've been drinking some scotch.
But that's not.
But it's like...
No. Scotch is great, but you specifically said beers of the beers.
Well, and also, like, there are, like, very specific, like, regional things. Like, if you're traveling through, it's like, oh, well, I'm in the north of England. There are different beers here than in the south.
Yes.
Right, I could see Ireland. You want to have Guinness or not Guinness? That's fine. Yeah. But why in Bath? Why in London? Why in Scotland?
Because they're dumb.
I mean, if you like it, that's great. But you're missing so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
First, have a drink. It's been a long day, and I'm sure you've done something to deserve it.
Yes.
Maybe.
Oh.
For context, I'm currently playing in a homebrew game based off of the old Street Fighter RPG.
Oh my
Nice!
God!
That is so good.
We used to play
Finish
that.
him. Is that the one? Is that Street Fighter?
No. That is
That's
Mortal Kombat.
That's another button masher.
But yeah, no, we totally played at the game store. We played some Street Fighter where we had just like, since we were all there all the time, we just like, one person was a matchmaker, and he'd just make matches between us.
That's fun. There was a Avalon Hill game called Wrestling, and it was the professional wrestling game, and it had like pre-made characters, and you had special moves on them, and it was a fun game. We used to play that. We'd get like 8 of us and organize a tournament, and then we started making our own characters and trying to figure out what the game balance was on the pre-existing characters to make our own. It was so much fun.
That's awesome.
Street Fighter. Yeah, I know, but it works despite itself. Adjusting level still. All the characters are high schoolers on the school tournament combat team, and as is par for the course in RPGs, we eventually got caught up in some end-of-the-world bullshit. After a hard-fought and barely won fight with a street gang responsible for the deaths of thousands only weeks prior, my character, a 17-year-old hothead French exchange student,
Oui, monsieur.
Lucky Pierre, had a moment alone with a very unconscious leader of the gang. The following is a very abridged retelling of the discussion between me and the GM. Me, I'm going to take his head and just hold it underwater for a minute, maybe 3. Okay, make a composure roll to see if you actually kill him. This guy is literally single-handedly responsible for killing thousands of people, like friends and family we knew. This would actually solve a lot of problems going on right now. Can I just fail that roll?
Oh.
GM, nope, make the check. I succeeded, and the gang leader went to the hospital and then to jail. Now, the GM is pretty good overall, but this decision kind of stuck in my craw. My character has a long and storied history of impulsive violence, and I thought it would be an interesting direction to take her. Maybe even lead to an arc where she learns to rein her shit in after going way too far. Also, he's just started making it a thing. Okay, make X check, and no, you cannot choose to fail it. So after that, my question is this: what are your views on voluntarily failing skill checks, or their equivalent, to stay true to character, motivations, and all that? Take another drink and discuss, as only you Jacks can. Cordially, Corbin Trois. P.S. I know I'm asking Stu, creator of Moment of Truth, about whether you should allow players to fail rolls on purpose. The irony or whatever of that is not lost on me. P.P.S. I realize I forgot to put a joke in this email, which is unfortunate because I love jokes, especially love telling dad jokes. Sometimes he even laughs. Okay.
I love dad jokes.
I hear a lot of dad jokes.
Interesting question here.
I have a clarifying question first. Can I just fail the roll in this story? Did that mean I fail to and I lose control and kill them?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't think so much lose control,
but
I can decide to kill him.
Right.
Well, he said he stated to the GM, I want to stick his head underwater for just a minute or 3.
Yeah.
Which probably wouldn't
That
drown
wouldn't
him.
kill a person.
He's unconscious, so it might.
3 minutes, it takes longer than 3 minutes to drown.
What if you don't know not to hold your breath and because you're unconscious?
Yeah, if you
That
breathe
can
in a
cause
whole bunch of water,
other
then
problems, but it doesn't necessarily.
That might fill your lungs up pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, like strangling someone takes 6 to 7 minutes.
Really?
Yeah. I watched a whole special on it.
You watch a lot of true crime, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
You know, like 99% of the audience for true crime are women.
Yeah.
6 minutes is a long time if someone's fighting you.
Right.
Well,
but
Wrestling matches are 3 minutes, and they're fucking exhausting.
They start slowing down after. I mean, I haven't done it.
Yes, you have. You put me in a choke. Don't you remember at Fair? You put me in a chokehold.
Yeah, well,
And I was like, right away, okay, tap out.
but if you're telling to actually kill a person dead, especially if they're fighting you.
Okay. But I think you said the guy was unconscious, right?
Yeah. No, the person was unconscious, but 3 minutes would definitely put them in the hospital, but it wouldn't necessarily, they wouldn't be dead. They might die afterwards from having water in their lungs or something, but that's
Okay.
a little different.
All right.
I was a lifeguard. Sorry, I took a lot of classes on
But
that.
if you're unconscious, you don't know to not breathe. You're like, as soon as...
It doesn't really matter. He was
anyway.
intending to kill him.
He was,
Yes.
No, he wasn't.
He didn't want to kill him.
He
character
originally
wanted to-
stated,
yeah.
I'm going to hold his head underwater for 1 to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And the GM, I think very rightfully said, make a composure roll
Yeah.
to see if you can keep control or to kill him.
And then he's like, but I want to kill him. And what the player said is,
Right.
I wish to kill him.
Right.
And I think once the GM asked for the composure roll, he's like, oh yeah, can I just fail that roll? I think it was more of an epiphany on the player's part.
Yeah.
At least it seems to me.
Right, but and that's the crux of the problem. Like,
Right.
as a GM, if you're like, can I just fail that roll? It's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you want to kill him, like, if that's what your character really wants in this moment.
And I think that
Being that your character is a hothead and impulsive. I mean, I know nothing about that.
And that's a... and
nothing.
There's nothing about that.
I think the player wanted the character to not want to lose control, but as a player, they wanted them to lose control. So they were trying to, like, I don't want to use this term necessarily meta it, but it's sort of like on that where they're like, they wanted it to be an accident for the character. But as
to
a
kill
player,
him.
as a player, they wanted to do it on purpose.
They're probably looking at a future
Right.
time saying, oh, I ended up killing that guy and I didn't mean to. He wanted to kill him but not have his character mean to do it.
And then have that, oh my god, I killed somebody,
Yeah.
like, because I was so mad.
Yeah.
I should maybe take some classes and
Or read a book.
and figure this shit out about myself,
Right.
which is a really great, like, character
Yeah.
moment. I, as a GM, I don't think I'd call for a composer check to begin with, but if I did, and somebody says, can I just not? I think that'd be fine. Like,
I happen to be rereading, because I'm rereading all of the Call of Cthulhu rules since I'm running it in a couple days.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens is you make your sanity check when you see something horrible, and then if you fail it, you roll take a certain number of sanity.
Mm-hmm.
If you take over a certain number of sanity, I think it's 5 points. You have to then make an intelligence check.
Mm-hmm.
If you fail that intelligence check, your brain sort of explains away the horrible thing you saw, and you don't lose any more sanity.
Yeah.
If you make that intelligence check, you fully understand the significance of what you've seen, and you take more sanity loss. Mm-hmm. So that's a very interesting point where, in a lot of games, where you have a very definitive thing that happens when you succeed or when you fail. Mm-hmm. In a situation like that, I would not let the player choose.
Right.
Because in metagame terms, it'd be better to fail that roll because you won't lose any more sanity points. But even so, that's kind of how good is your brain about doing this, and whether it succeeds or fails, the game wants you to leave that to chance, and I kind of think you should.
Well, and like, I mean, when you make a harm roll in PBTA, you can't choose to fail that roll. I mean, there are definitely certain situations, and there are many where you should not be able, like, I'm going to choose not to fall off this cliff. Well, no, you can't. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm going to choose to not take harm damage because I failed that roll. I can't. I'm going to choose to fail the sanity roll so I don't take more sanity. You can't.
Right.
But, like, I think what's happening here is more like, you know, there's a thing where, like, you can't control your emotions, but you can control what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right? And so what's happening here is the GM is saying your emotions are forcing you to do something. Mm-hmm. And, like, there are schools of, like, psychology and psychotherapy and stuff like that that are very against that concept.
Right.
Of, like, you can feel fucking angry as hell, but if you hit somebody, that is still a choice you have made. Your emotions do not force you to do anything, no matter how motherfucking angry you are.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you need to take responsibility for those actions, and you need to learn how to not do that when you feel those emotions. And so here, like, I'm really mad, and I want to, like, do this thing. And it's like, oh, composure check, because your emotions won't let you do that. Mm-hmm. You'll feel bad. And it's like, no, I want to make the choice to.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very salient point, I think, with this type of argument.
Right. I mean, he wants to lose to make the story more interesting, not to quote unquote win.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. And that's like in Moment of Truth. That the whole point of that is when you're making a roll, when you choose to fail it, it's because it's going to be bad for you or bad for the party.
Yeah.
Or,
Killing him is objectively bad.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Just, you're a high school student. Like, it doesn't end the world of you objectively bad to murder somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I agree.
I don't know. I'm sort of stuck in the middle because I, as a player, have chosen to, in different systems and things like that, I've had, like, when I was playing different PBTA games and stuff like that. And when we were playing Demigods a couple times, like I've had GMs be like, I will give you a thread, or I will give you a this if you choose to fail your roll without rolling, just because it will make the story more interesting.
Right.
And always it has.
The temptation.
The temptation of it. And you're like, you know what? Yeah, failing this roll would be much more interesting.
Right.
And I also roll terribly a lot, so I have a lot of times where I fail, and it makes the story better. So I'm always like a little excited when I fail something in a great moment. But I don't know, I feel like in this situation, it's a little bit like, well, if you want, I don't know, it's like almost like having your cake and eating it too, a little bit with like, I mean, I wonder if the GM even should have asked for that role. Like,
I think the GM is saying, I know how to play your character better than you do.
Yeah, like
Kind of, yeah.
And that is I think what is sticking in my craw about this specific situation.
I would like to know what happened prior to this and exactly how angry this character was and how
Right.
possibly out of control he was.
that'd be hard.
'Cause that may justify the GM saying, hey, you know what, you've been pretty pissed off in the last 10 minutes. Why don't you go ahead and make a composure roll and see, maybe you're going to accidentally kill him.
Well, this is
But
deaths
they
of
want that
thousands.
to happen.
Like this guy blames, or this character blames this person for the deaths of thousands of people
Right.
that they know.
Right.
Yeah. I think this is an instance where, as a GM, I would have been like, all right, you narrate to me what happens. Like, don't necessarily ask for a role, where it's like, all right, like, I'm going to, like, she's going to put this guy's head under the water and, like, almost bring it up, and then just think of, like, her friend who died and, like, shove his face back, that sort of thing.
Right.
It sounds almost like the GM, to me, like, wanted this character not to die, the NPC not to die because they have future plans for them.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
That could be.
Although then asking for a role is also putting that character at risk too, so I don't know.
I mean, this is a situation where I, as a player, where I'm like, I don't know, let's see where the chips fall where they may.
Yeah.
Right.
Because either way, this is going to be shitty. I really disagree with the GM doing like some sort of Deus Ex Machina for a character that they want to do something. Once you put a NPC out there, like,
They might die.
Well,
the players get to do things to them.
Yeah.
and he gave him the
dice roll,
dice
so.
roll. And see, I think what's really going on here is the player didn't necessarily want to kill him, and the GM decided, because of the circumstances, I don't think that's a decision you have complete control over. So I'm going to ask the dice about that
That's
decision.
true.
Do you see what I'm
Good
saying?
point.
I do see what you're saying.
And then the player's like, oh, wait a minute. It'd be kind of cool for the story if I killed him. Can I just fail that roll?
And then the
And so-
GM's like, nah, I don't. Now that I've made that rule, I don't want to go back on it, kind
Maybe.
of thing.
So I think if the GM sinned, it's a very minor sin. I
Oh,
don't think
yeah,
it's
no.
I don't
Oh,
think it's
yeah.
a big deal.
I think that this could also be a really interesting storyline too now, because now this character, she is responsible for this monster not being dead.
They had the chance to kill him and didn't.
Didn't take it. So
What
I feel
are you
like,
going to say to the families of the next 1,000 people they
right,
kill?
when your friends find out that you spared their life, like,
Right.
what the hell is going to happen with that?
I can also see this kind of sticking in a player's craw, though.
Oh,
of
sure.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
Like, every time, like, some bullshit happens with this guy, it's like, I just want to fucking kill him.
But what he should have said in the beginning is, I want to stick his head underwater.
For 10
My
minutes
character doesn't intend to kill him, but I, as the player, am going to have him hold his head underwater the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think if he had stated it that way,
Yeah. Right.
which is basically saying, character wants to kill him, or I, as the player, want to kill him, but the character's not.
Not. And when he's dead, the character will be upset.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think, and if he had stated that clearly up in front, and I'm wondering if he actually considered that. I think when he was asked for the die roll, I think that's when that kind of popped into his head. At least
Yeah.
that's what it seems.
Now the thing at the end of where it's like, okay, make a dice roll and no, you cannot fail it, is kind of weird to me.
It might be just a joke. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. That just...
Or
I don't know.
you can't choose to fail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Make a die roll, and by the way, you can't choose to fail it.
Right.
It's like, well, it sounds like this was a one-time thing, and I don't know. That's a little weird to me. But maybe this is just an idiosyncrasy of the GM. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he asked if he could fail it, and he said, "No, you can't."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because now that's a very specific instance in Call of Cthulhu. But making that intelligence roll after you've lost sanity, No, you don't get to choose to fail that roll. Because failing that roll is actually better for your character in the short term, at least.
I love losing sanity in Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I mean,
Really? That's shocking.
And the new rules are just
Surprise.
yeah, right?
great. The new rules are great for sanity.
I'm so excited.
And make a sorcerer every single goddamn time.
All right. So there you go. That's
That was
you get kind of a mix.
yeah.
You can't really say that you're wrong or the GM's wrong.
Yeah.
And if there's a sin here, it's a minor sin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah. If you do
holding anger in your heart. It's
if
not
you do anything
murder.
stink palm him, don't punch out his tires with your
Yeah.
knife or something.
Well, and I think there's also there's amazing ways to roleplay this too. Like you didn't quite get what you expected from the buffet, but you got an equally cool buffet of awful things for your character.
Right.
Like the guilt, the pressure from other people who were like, "You let that guy go, you bitch." God, like.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like you thought you were going to a nice buffet, and then you're suddenly at Golden Corral.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh god damn it! I thought I was going to a smorgasbord with
Right.
actual
Golden trots.
But they still have mashed potatoes and gravy.
Yeah,
And
don't-
biscuits.
don't have any of their Chinese food.
No. But biscuits and gravy. That's safe.
Find out when they bring the food out, and then go within 10 minutes of that. Don't go 3 hours later.
See, I think there's actually more drama to be had from the character not killing the guy.
I think so. I think you're right. I think you're right. It depends. Depends how bloodthirsty the victims of the dead are.
Sometimes, though, a player needs to not be frustrated, even though it's more dramatic.
I agree.
Like there is definitely a balance. Like sometimes you can err way too much on the side of drama, and things are happening, but a player might not be real happy regardless.
All right.
Interesting. Good email.
Yes, thank you for the email there.
Corbin Twa.
Twa Corbin.
Corbin.
Who was a walk-in all lane.
PC versus player knowledge from Joe Crack.
I love that song so much.
I love it too.
Hey y'all! Excuse me. Joe Crack here, and I loved hearing the discussion. And like many dudes on the internet, I have an opinion. Shock and surprise. No way.
Dudes and their opinions.
Dudes on the internet have opinions? I didn't know. Sorry. Now, obviously, Stu and others have very strong opinions on
I
this.
almost said, well, if you could work a computer.
Oh, thank you, Tappy. Why don't you explain more to me about that? That'll just make it clear.
Let me break it down so you can understand.
Now, obviously, Stu and the others have very strong opinions on this. And sure, it all comes down to personal preference. But here's my feelings on it all. If we agree that RPGs are a story told collaboratively, then to me, the players are not only the co-authors, but also the audience. For me, I think about it best as a TV show, like a soap opera, because they always have fun, messy drama. So, in a show like that, the audience is aware that Gloria is engaged to Mark, but she is secretly in love with Maria, and that Mark has been blackmailing Riley. You're setting this up. This is like a very deep story here.
Yeah.
Who has a gambling problem so that Riley will protect Mark so he can keep his championship title.
You stole this from The Guiding Light.
Did you?
No, this is General Hospital.
I was going to be super impressed.
Like,
that you
yeah, I
knew
think
that.
you're right. Well, my mother used to watch soap
Oh,
operas.
okay. The audience knows this and looks forward when the characters find that out, so they can see the drama explode. The players also look forward to that so they can play out that messy explosion. Is there a chance that some could metagame to play towards that as quickly as possible? Sure, that's possible in any game, but hopefully it still happens naturally, and a GM can help drag these reveals out by peppering in other distractions along the way. And in a PBTA-style game, one of those things getting revealed is a great hard move. In one of my favorite PBTA games, Samurai World, every player has a secret love, and that is another player's character. You go around and describe your character, and then everyone writes down who they are secretly in love with. Then play goes back around and everyone announces it, because the game thrives on putting you in scenes with your secret love and having to deal with the drama that creates, and work with the mechanics around the secret love. It's player knowledge, but not character knowledge. In my experience, I've been lucky, and players only play to try and win over their secret love, and only try to sabotage others when they get confused and think another character is a rival. Will that happen 100% of the time? I can't say. But if you have a good group of players that are playing to find out rather than trying to play to win, it works wonderfully. The characters should totally trying to win though, because it's based on L5R. Anyway, feel free to wet your whistle. And that was from Joe Crack.
I think it comes down to why you're playing.
I want to play that game. Sorry.
It comes down to why you're playing.
So, first about that game, like Samurai World was one of the first hacks that came out for BBDA, and I think they got hit by Fantasy Flight because it does not exist on the internet anymore anywhere.
Oh, really?
And it is not like just kind of based on L5R. It's really based on L5R.
Hit by Fantasy Flight or AEG?
I don't know, but it's gone.
Oh, really?
Like I got a copy of it way back in the day, when like way before Second Edition came out, and now I was like, I think I deleted that. Let me see if I can get another copy of it, because it's just I can't find it.
Okay. So Joe Crack, if you have it,
so you have it,
to
yeah.
us.
I want to run this.
happyjacksrpg@gmail.com.
So the I don't know. I really like being surprised by things. That's my thing. Like I find that it's really fun to have something be revealed instead of knowing it ahead of time.
Yeah.
I agree, but also like, all right, when we were playing in Jib's Gene X game, like Mike and I's characters were X's, and it became very apparent in the first couple games that we were going to do like the reconciliation thing. So that was kind of like the trajectory for us. We both kind of knew that and talked about it out of game. But it was also really fucking fun to do the thing where you like fuck it up every session. Like almost every session it was like he would do something and like my character would get mad. So, I don't know. It's like it can increase the kind of fun and drama about that because we both kind of knew that's where our characters were going to then like extend it out, and instead of just like, oh well, if he like if I hadn't known and then his character had just been like, I miss you, and we'd been like, oh that's sweet, and then like session 3 we'd gotten together, it wouldn't have been quite as fun as storytelling as it was when we didn't get together to like the second to last or last episode because we kept finding fun ways to like fuck it up for each other.
Well, I also think that doesn't necessarily have to be secret information. Like
Sure.
both people, when you're, I think they want to get back together with me. I kind of want to get back together. Oh wait, they're an asshole. Like
Yeah.
that one still makes sense, as opposed to something like this, where if somebody finds out your secret love, that can be devastating to you.
True.
And so like, or like in any sort of like court setting, or like a
Yeah, L5R is a very specific
yeah.
example.
or like Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
let's say. Like, when there are secrets and they are known, like, people can act on them, and it's devastating. And we found that out when, like, some dude who isn't used to this comes out and fucking tells everybody everything all the time.
Right.
Right.
Being surprised by that, I think, is important.
Yeah.
Like diplomacy, like we were talking about before. Like, I don't know that the Phoenix are going to backstab me.
Right,
They're my
yeah.
friends. They are pacifistic, just like I am.
Right.
And just knowing that,
Yeah.
you know, I can consciously, like, I'm going to like try and ignore that, but it still changes how you play.
Schrodinger's metagame.
Yeah, Schrodinger's metagame.
See, I think it depends why you're playing and what your preferences are when you're playing. And I think there are people,
system.
mostly people who play PBTA games, who see playing role-playing games more like sitting around a writer's table.
I feel attacked.
See, I really okay.
It's
so
more like that, though.
It is.
So it's like, okay, everyone's on the same page. We all know who loves who and everything else. So let's sit and play it to figure out how this resolves.
So I disagree because I love PBTA. I specifically love.
I'm not saying that's a
Apocalypse
bad thing.
World.
I'm
No,
not saying that's a bad thing.
I don't like story games.
Okay.
Like things like I keep on trying them because I want to see what they're about. But like I played like the skeleton game and stuff. It was for Small Game Hunters.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all right, but it is not my jam. And
Right.
that is you're just making shit up all the time.
Yes.
We know at the end, like we are all the skeletons will be destroyed. So we're just going to find out what happens. I find that extremely unsatisfying.
Right.
And so Fiasco, I find really unsatisfying. 10 Candles, while fun and there's a whole bunch of gimmick to it, and you have a good time, I'm not really like super interested in playing that all the time.
Right.
But running or playing Apocalypse World, that's a role-playing game. That is not a story game.
Sure.
And I think that like talking about it like that does kind of disservice to it as an actual role-playing game.
Right,
But it's more like that than like a game where the players are in the dark about other players' motives and everything else is going on.
I like PBTA and like every single hack, some more than others. Like there are secrets everybody knows because you do the connections at the beginning.
Right.
So it has that element of it. So I do agree. I think a lot of it does have to do with what game you're playing. Like there are games that, like PBTA games, like those are mostly the ones I'm cool with, like having kind of secrets known because that's sort of the set default for the game in a lot of ways. Sometimes as you go, things happen, and I don't always share a lot. Like I 100% when I was playing Demigods in the first campaign, like I played the Trickster. So a lot of people knew my stuff at the beginning, but by like session 3, fuck y'all, I'm not telling anything out loud. Here's a bunch of notes for the GM.
Right.
So I think it kind of depends on character, but definitely system 2.
But I don't know. You could do that kind of thing in any game.
Yeah.
though.
And it's relatively minor. I mean, you're setting up how characters know each other, and people know how characters know each other.
Okay, well, correct me if I'm wrong.
Like
there
Decima.
are some games where the players will sit down, maybe more Fate games, not necessarily than PBTA games, where the players are going to sit down and figure out who the big bad guy is.
Yes, that is more Fate.
Okay.
That is not a PBTA.
There again, that's
like
along
that.
the same vein. It's like we're all going to sit down and figure out who the big bad is going to be. So it's never going to be a surprise.
Yeah, I don't like
Right.
that.
And that is, again, like, that's something
more,
that I'm not as interested in.
That's more like sitting around a writer's table.
So there's a writing theory, which is not a writing theory, some bullshit somebody wrote on the internet,
About
of
writing.
like, there are pantsers and there are planners when it comes to writing.
Okay, that was actually very interesting. It was about George R.R. Martin. It was very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there are planners. They know what is going to happen. They plan what the entire plot is going to be.
Right.
And there are GMs who do that. Like John Wick is a motherfucking planner and a half.
Right.
Like he designed an entire game where the mechanic for getting better is to plan your own like side stories.
Yeah.
And then there are pantsers who are like, oh, here's some shit that I do and I'm going to interact with other people in a certain way, but I have no idea where that's going to happen.
Right.
PBTA, where it's like play to see what's going to happen, is specifically a pantser kind of game, not a planner type of game.
Okay.
Whereas Fate is much more of a planner type of game.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's what we're talking about here for a story game, where it's like at the end we are all going to die.
But let me ask you this: if your dichotomy was Pantser and Planner, and you put Fate over here, would you put Apocalypse World over here, or would you put Apocalypse World over here somewhere?
I think that depends on the GM.
Because
100%.
I am a fucking pantser when I run a game.
Yeah.
Right.
And I run best the systems that I like to run the most are ones that support that.
Yeah.
And my favorite system run is Apocalypse World. I am running a fucking Chronicles of Darkness game, pantsing it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it is a nightmare.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean,
It's fun, and I'm doing it well, but I've had to make up a whole bunch of different rules because I haven't like planned a whole like and use the rules to make all these different enemies. They're just in a new place.
Well-
All right, you're in a new place. Let's go.
see, when I'm prepping a game, I'm definitely a planner because
You are.
I have figured out if the players do exactly what I anticipate they're going to do. Sit down and cogitate on that for a second. I probably have the next 6 or 7 sessions planned. Realistically, I will have to come up with something for the second session
Yep.
Right.
because that's just
But
the way
you
it
like
works.
having me in your games anyway.
But I have all this other stuff that may show up at some other point,
Right.
or at some point they may decide to go over to this town that I thought they were going to go to 3 sessions ago, and then I've already got all the stuff.
I feel like we're sitting very appropriately because we've got the planner to my left, which is Stu. We've got the pantser to my right, which is Tappy, and then like I'm right in the middle.
Okay.
Because I do kind of the same thing. Like I plan out the world very carefully, but as they go through it, like I don't have fucking clue what's going to happen. Like,
No. I think that's pantsing.
Is
Because I love putting the world together.
Right.
And there are all these certain things that are happening. And Apocalypse World does that when you figure out all the threats. And you figure out what the threats are going to do. And like, so if those threats are not dealt with, like, you know, if they don't deal with the fucking goblins or whatever. Well, the goblins have now moved up one, and they are now taking over the forest. And if they don't do anything about the forest, all right, they move up, and now they've taken over like the mountain passes. And those have to be dealt with at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna. That's not part of the plot.
Right.
Like, the plot is whatever the characters want to do. At some point, they may have to deal with the goblin horde that is coming to the town, or they may be in another continent.
See, I think you're describing how all three of us prep and run.
I think all of it. Yeah, I was like, that sounds just like what Stu does.
No, but I don't have a plot. Like, I am plotless. Because, like, right now my players are, like, pursuing backstory.
I can't have a plot.
And that's cool.
See,
like, I have no idea.
I can't have a plot because I don't know what players are going to do.
Yeah.
The plot is determined what players are going to do.
Well, but you said you have the 7 things planned.
I have, but what I have is 7 locations.
I feel like we all do.
And I have 7 telegrams written. Whether they'll get to that second telegram or not is not up to me.
Yeah.
I mean, may not be. No one may know where they are. The telegram may not be able to get to them.
And the real question is, now that I know about the telegram, it's now Schrodinger's telegram. So,
right? Did it really exist?
Did it really exist? If I
Right.
fuck up the storyline enough that we don't get it, or will what I do make us get the telegram?
Right. Because I mean,
Sorry, I just totally derailed everything.
but I mean, like, and I've said this before. From a player's position, I want to be in the dark.
Yes, I want to be in the dark.
I don't want to know everyone's secrets. I want to discover them as they happen and go, oh my gosh, you're a vampire. I had no idea.
I like stuff. Yeah.
I thought you just like sleeping in a coffin because you're kinky.
Whatever. As a caveat, like,
We know
one
what
of the
to do.
things for Apocalypse World is the Skinner. And the Skinner has in their history, if they want to do it, can be like, this person loves me, and this other person is my lover. But those are not necessarily secrets. Like, the Skinner is, like, the hottest ass, right? There's the baddest ass, that is the gunlugger, and the Skinner is the hottest ass around.
Right.
So if somebody's in love with them, everybody probably knows it.
Right.
And if somebody is their lover, everybody probably knows it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a secret. But people can decide their character's in love with them without saying anything. That player can go up to somebody else and say, hey, do you want to be my secret lover? Sure, there's nothing that says any of those things have to be secrets.
Okay.
They're just things that if the player decides to, they can choose that history and make that a public thing.
Right.
That's interesting. I think, kind of like reflecting on what you're saying and what I was saying earlier, I think there are times that I, as a person, would rather know about the secrets. Like, I think I might be uncomfortable at the table if suddenly another character was declaring their love for my character, and I didn't know that.
You would probably know that. Like, what I'm saying
Right.
is, you're working that out with the person who's playing the Skinner.
Right, but I'm using that as an example of this, of, like, player knowledge, like, sharing and keeping secrets. Like, not necessarily in just that system, but, like, as someone who's often the only woman at the table, like, I'm lucky I play with people who are, like, my best friends all the time. But, like, especially if I'm playing with people I don't know as well or something like that, like, having someone suddenly being like, I'm in love with you, like, is, like, can be uncomfortable and,
sure.
like, weird. So I feel like those are the type of secrets that I would like for there to be some, like, hey, by the way...
Yeah,
out
just
of
checking in.
Yeah, like, out of character. So it's like, maybe that takes away some of the surprise, but that's kind of a good thing. Well, there's other times where, like, it's like, oh, have you been, you've been betraying us the whole time. Like, okay, that I don't care about. Like, that can be a
You're talking about more of a potential safety issue.
Right. Something that's just a little uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
They just kind of get squiffed out by it.
yeah, it's like, okay, well, I'm going to play along with this, but now I'm uncomfortable, and now I don't know how to interact with you. So I think there's a definite, and I hadn't really thought about that until what you were just talking about, Chappie. Like, I think there's definitely levels of things that I want to know about ahead of time, and things that I'm okay being surprised by.
Right.
Like, and that's definitely, again, like reading the table kind of thing too.
Yeah.
With the group that I have, I've known them all for 20 years. And that's very different than somebody you've known for even like 2 years or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Or somebody you just met at a con.
or just
Yeah.
met it. Don't do it at con.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially don't do it to a woman at con,
Don't
but
do
just
it
don't do it
at
at con. Like, anything like that, don't do it at con.
And that's why lines and veils are a really great thing to start a game with. So someone right up front can be like, when you're starting the game, hey, so I'm cool with romance as long as I kind of have a heads up and we fade to black instead of, like, talking about where you're touching me. Like, so,
Whoa! Yeah.
it's always a great safety tool to use. So
Yeah.
Unfortunate but necessary example.
The last Apocalypse World game that I ran, like everybody was nailing everybody except for one guy who just did a lot of heroin. So I mean,
He's nailing himself.
yeah.
Can you have? Is there one?
There's a little left. Here you go.
I would like a little.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's a good email. Very
It
nice.
was.
Yeah.
Portraying otherworldly beings from Stephen Sokol.
Stephen Sokol. Greetings, jovial masturbators.
Well, speaking of where you're touching me.
Swoons.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Where I'm touching me for masturbation. Go ahead.
And a happy Jack or Jill to each and every one of you fine folk. I shouldn't have done that. I apologize. After that right there, I really shouldn't have done that. I'm impulsive.
So is that
And,
the new euphemism? You're a jacker or a jiller?
Happy Jill. A happy Jill.
No, I don't think we need to gender Happy Jack. And listening to beginning of the Clockwise Court and Wild Wild Talents
Woohoo!
actual plays, for example, I was wondering what thoughts you all had on portraying otherworldly beings in your games.
It's a great email for this episode.
Yeah. I'll likely focus most of my thoughts on portraying the Fae, but similar thoughts can easily apply to angels, demons, devils, gods, old ones, etc. What techniques do you find helpful in playing the roles of NPCs who are immortal and or have motivations, powers, and restrictions very unlike a typical PC or NPC? For example, Kimmy's Person in White and Man in Grey, or Stu's Queen
Ocarine.
Ocarina?
Ocarine.
From the most recent Bloodblade and Tusk. I find that there's a lot of great potential with these kind of characters to create interesting interactions with the party. But it can also be a lot trickier than your typical guard or king or bartender, etc. What resources have you found useful in guiding your development of these characters? I.e., do you think reading Changeling the Dreaming would be useful in developing Fae characters in a D&D game or some such? I personally love the Dresden Files approach to the Fae and many otherworldly beings, but I'm always interested in other source material. Similarly, what successes and challenges have you noticed in your gaming? I.e., having to be very careful with phrasing if you're playing a Fae who is supernaturally incapable of lying, playing an angel who has certain limitations in their actions, playing a being who is theoretically omniscient, trying to balance out the power level of a being and what they are willing to do for the party without imbalancing the game.
Yeah.
Quote, sure, I can teach you Portalis, end quote. I have loved some of your examples of offering great power, but at great cost. You can have all the magics if you give me a few children. But have you ever had a bluff called and had it backfire? Alternatively, have you ever tried offering something that you thought was very powerful / enticing, but the PCs felt it was not remotely worth it? I could see such things generating ire if sacrifices are made, but the rewards feel trivial. As a backdrop to my question, I'm loosely plotting out a D&D campaign that involves a powerful devil, some powerful fae, and at least one dragon, who are all basically using the mortals in the area as living chess pieces in a game played amongst themselves. They are unwilling to act directly against each other, but are willing to aid / impede the party as it suits their need. Any thoughts on your inspirations and experiences with such beings of power would be greatly appreciated. Steve and Suckle, the Grimace on the forum.
Cal.
When I have time to post.
Yes. Yay.
When for Bloodblade and Tusk, that there's an economy for debt with the Fae, and it's like a mortgage. So what may have happened, I'll tell you, in the game that we played, Abria's character met a member of a Fae court, Queen Ocarine, and she offered to teach her certain components for spells that her instructor would have thought she was not ready to learn yet, because there's a hierarchy to how you learn magic. So she basically would have been a big shortcut for her. And her what she wanted in return for it was a human infant, alive.
Right.
She was planning on transforming this human infant into one of her minions or something like that.
Changeling.
But the thing is, she might sell off that debt to another Fae, who may have a very different thing they're going to do with that infant.
Right.
So, and you have no. It's like when you take out a mortgage. I mean, one day Countrywide owns your mortgage, and and 3 days later, it's owned by Bank of America or Chase, and you have no control over who owns your debt.
Yeah.
And that's the way I worked it, because
Smart.
I mean, yes, this is what I intend to do when you get me the infant. But I'm not lying to you, but I'm leaving out the fact that I might sell this debt to someone else because I may owe someone else something, and this is going to pay off my debts with them. So, I mean,
Yeah, you can't just tell them everything you could possibly do.
exactly right. You asked me a very specific question. I gave you a very specific answer. But and for me, that was sort of the big conceit for the Fae, is they are all so totally intertwined with each other, and their economy of obligations to each other, that it becomes almost impossible to predict what one of them is going to do in any specific situation, because you don't know what favors they owe to other people and what opportunity might come up for them to repay a debt that they've had for 1,000 years.
Right.
So, in fact, one of the NPCs that's in the setting text is Morgana Le Fay, and at some point, she was the apprentice of Merlin. We're figuring probably like late Roman Empire, and she, against his advice, got more involved with the Fae, and is now so entwined in this obligation economy that she's now acting like a Fae, because she's got so much debt and owes people so much stuff that you cannot predict what she's going to do.
Right. So it's in the name.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I think one of the things, and you kind of touched on it in the email, is having them influence the game, but not make things improportional. So you brought up the examples of my person in white and the man in gray. And for those of you who don't know, person in white is basically an angel. The man in gray is basically the devil in my game. So they are both in this town. And the way I balanced it out is basically they have to stay balanced. Is the forces of good and the forces of evil. So whenever the devil helps someone, the angel's allowed to help someone too. And whenever the angel helps someone, then that gives the devil leeway to help someone as well.
So the angel can help someone. The angel can do whatever they want, but there's going to be a proportionate
price to pay on the other end. So it's kind of created a cool, interesting dynamic where the players sometimes go to the angel and sometimes go to the devil to try and do things, knowing that something else is going to happen on the other side. So they have to think really carefully about that. But that limits their, the angel's like, I can help you with this, but the devil will be able to proportionally help the people who you're going against the same amount. So you can ask for that, but know that there's going to be price to pay on the other end. So because the scales have to be balanced. So that's an interesting way, because the players are now terrified of asking for either thing.
Now, is there a point where the man in white?
Person in white.
Person in white.
Yeah, because they're
androgynous.
Yeah.
Okay. So is there a point where the person in white, because they're an angel and they're quote unquote good, will say, "I'm not doing that"?
Yeah, absolutely. If they ever ask for anything, they haven't asked for anything from them yet that would cause that.
Okay.
Has the man in gray ever offered them something?
Absolutely. And one of them has lost their soul to the man in gray previously. So there's a whole power structure. It's very interesting.
Because if it was the man in black, it would be Johnny Cash.
Right.
Well, yeah.
Which would be amazing.
Which is so good.
Oh my God, you need to put Johnny Cash in your game now.
I know.
Go on, it's Wild West.
It is Wild West.
And both sides are fighting to have him in their afterlife.
Right, absolutely.
Great concept.
Because everybody wants that. And he could go either way.
Yeah.
But finding a reason before you introduce these ultra powerful characters about why they can't just do whatever for the players. And whether that's keeping balance, whether that's magical limitations, whatever you come up with, making sure those restraints are in place before the party meets them.
Or debt accrual.
Or debt, yeah, whatever it is, a reason that the players aren't just gonna be like, yeah, do everything for us, go kill the bad guy. You have to have reasons that there's a limit on there. So that's really important.
That happened in the old Eldamy game we
Yeah.
ran, because you guys had there was a mage who was sort of an advisor to the Duke, and you guys were constantly going to this guy. We need help. We have questions. We don't understand.
Please
we
tell
need
me what to do.
And yeah, basically he was like the guy with the exclamation point over his head,
Yeah.
and they would, as soon as they came back into town, they'd run up to the fountain where he's standing,
What's up?
and so
We're back.
eventually I just had to eliminate him, and I
Stay
had
a
him
while and listen.
right.
Exactly.
I had to have him kidnapped.
Yeah.
And then just now you guys got to rescue him.
Yeah.
And boy, were they motivated to rescue him.
I think another interesting thing is find things that make them stand out or make them different. So in my game, the person in white and the man in gray, they are dressed as human and they appear human, but like the person in white is always perfectly clean, and it's the Wild West. So it's like there's weird little things, like weird little details to make them just stand apart. And when they first were there, like most people didn't notice the person in white except the one character in the game who's Catholic and very religious, and they like immediately noticed. The fucking dice did that themselves. Like they rolled, and it just happened to be the Catholic character who was like, "Oh," so that was like magical. But like finding small little details, like. In our Mode of Sin game, when you were having the Fae write up the contract for Adrian, and like Adrian couldn't control herself, and like the Fae blood smelled so good that she just had to like eat the whole contract, and I failed my roll. Like those are like amazing little details that just like terrify the shit out of the players, because if I can't even not eat the contract because her blood smells so good,
Right, there's like,
what the fuck am I gonna do?
2,000th of a gram of blood on it.
Yeah, like what the fuck am I gonna do as a character, like against this
Right.
being?
Or
It's
if
like,
one of them gets injured.
right? Oh god.
Like licking the floor. And I think that's the thing with otherworldly beings, is they need to be otherworldly. They need to not make sense with the rules of our reality. They make sense with their own rules. And figuring out those rules is part of how the players make sense of them and deal with them.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, I think in some cases, because I've been reading the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu rules.
Really?
One of the things that they suggest in there is you're going to have a lot of these beings do a lot of things that just don't make sense, and the players are going to be butting their heads against a wall trying to figure out what rules they are governed under, or what rules apply to these disparate things that they're doing, and it may be something that's just totally incomprehensible to a human mind.
Right.
In that case, so in a lot of cases, they say for the GM, don't worry about the sort of background logic of why they're acting this way now and then they're acting this way later.
Yeah.
Your brain can't understand it, mere human GM.
Yeah.
And that's why in the Autumn People, and there might be some spoilers here because I talk too much, nobody chose a changeling character, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to make the Fae the thing that they're dealing with, because that is out of the realm of them. Like, they
there
don't
you
know
go.
what's going on.
Yeah.
And I get to be, like, really weird and have them, like, ask all these sorts of questions, and the only answers that are available are from other Fae. And the Fae are the others, or the gentry, which are supremely, insanely powerful, like they've never been human kind of things, as opposed to changelings, who are humans that are stolen as children,
Yeah.
Right.
and then used by these Fae to like gain power from them by having them go through dreams, which are usually not fun ones.
Right.
And so like the players are finding out like how this sort of like human economy works with them, and trying to figure out what to do about it. And I gave them a whole group of people that wanted to do something about it, and they did something about them. That was really great. But so now I have all of these others, these Fae, that they have kind of reasons they do things, but it's all sideways. You know, like the names of them. Like there's one, I totally stole this from Exalted because it's a great name. It's the Princess Magnificent with lips of coral and cloak of black feathers.
I like that.
That is the name of the Fae. And what do they do? Well, some spooky ass shit.
Right.
Fair fun.
But what decisions they're going to make are going to come at you like sideways. And the characters, have now decided that they're going to do something about those Fae. And so it's I did not expect this.
Right.
Being Pantsers. But I mean, just come at it sideways. But also I think you need a sort of internal consistency with them.
Yes.
But you don't have to come up with exact reasons for everything, because the internal consistency could be they're Fae.
Right.
So there you go.
Yeah.
And in Call of Cthulhu, you have even more latitude.
Yeah.
It's like, they're elder gods.
Yeah.
They were around when you were a piece of slime in the primordial soup.
If you could understand why they did this, you'd be a raving madman trying to kill us all with an axe.
Right.
Yeah. But I think it is important, like you were just saying, Tappy, like to have consistency. Like these are the type of characters, like even if you're a pantser, like Tappy and me and Stu, because basically it's all the same.
Well, internal consistency is, these characters have reasons why they do things.
Yeah, and these are really important characters to plan. Like, to know what are their limitations going to be. Even if you don't plan, like, exactly what they're going to say and exactly what the story's going to be, you need to already know what their limitations in the world are, what their motivations are, and especially with things like the Fae, because I've got Fae in my game, too, and it's super crazy. Like, they are very changeable, but they have to have the same, like, not laws of physics, but laws of behavior.
Right, like Princess Magnificent is always going to be a Princess Magnificent.
Right. And like the way she's dealing with people should kind of stay consistent. Like what she's willing to give, what she's willing to take, should be on, kind of the same level always. I mean, it can change a little bit, but it's suddenly the Fae isn't going to be like, here's an atom bomb. Like, maybe they are. But.
Or you have a Fae that's all like cold shoulder, cold base kind of thing, and then they bring out a flamethrower.
Yeah, like
right.
That's okay. That's a little weird.
Yeah,
you could instead like have jelly gasoline and thrown that on them, and then had a cigarette and drop that on it. And that would be more kind of thing. Don't do a flamethrower.
Yeah, and their interest in interacting with the party. Like, hey, I want something from you. Like, there's a price for it, not just, hey, you're nice. Here's the thing.
Right.
Like whatever, like whatever those things are with whatever your otherworldly being is, needs to stay consistent.
No. Oh, you can just give them a thing and have them wonder what the price is.
Right.
Well, yes, but
find out later what the price.
But that can only work if they already are aware that there's probably going to be a price.
Well, depending on how the Fae work.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean.
He's mentioning he's got a D&D campaign, and like there's like a Fae and a devil and at least one dragon, and they're using mortals as chess pieces.
That sounds dope.
That sounds amazing.
In the Eldemy game I ran,
yes.
And I don't think the players ever figured any of this out, but they got a lot of clues about it.
Or dumb.
The Duke of Eldemy that he was like the 14th of his line or something, had always consistently been the same gold dragon. That had transformed into a human.
What?
The entire time.
What?
He basically decided to make himself the protectorate of the civilization. And near the end, some of you started having dreams where there's a dragon dying.
I can't believe you haven't said this before now.
And this is how I find out, you tell me?
Like, years later. Not even like, like a couple weeks after the campaign. Like, fucking years later.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Should have gone to the Duke for answers.
God damn it!
I think you guys only met the Duke like once or twice ever.
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially once we did the orc game. Like, then we definitely didn't get to hang out with him very much.
But, I mean, even Birdstaff didn't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like super, super secret shit.
That's amazing. I'm so excited for you to eventually give up and run Eldemy again now, because I know a thing.
Right.
So going back to the email about player versus...
Yeah, see, how awesome is that reveal? If we knew he was a gold dragon,
right?
Like we
we're
might
not even
just
playing the game, and you guys are like, "Whoa!"
and we might have been like just unconscious, kind of pushing to see the Duke more. I want to see the Duke. I want to talk to the Duke. I want to talk to the Duke more. Just kind of like I want to know what the Duke thinks of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm his advisor. No, I want to talk to the Duke.
Oh my god!
Because I remember you guys were like you guys had a dream, and you're all very concerned because this dragon is dying, and you were seeing something in the future. And someone even at the table even said, "Why are we concerned about a dragon dying?" And at some point, you guys would have figured it out and realized that this dragon had been protecting.
Now you have to run that campaign where after the dragon dies, and we're all like, "Oh shit!"
Right.
Well, I mean, that's also why red herrings are so effective. is if you tell somebody something that they think is true because the GM said it.
Right.
You know, just like, oh, he's a gold dragon. Oh my God, he's a gold dragon, and they like they will go with that as truth, even if it wasn't. And so like, yeah,
because I think his like personal guard was called like the Dragon's Breath or something like that.
but we thought that was supposed to just be like cool
Right.
and scary.
Oh my God!
There were a lot of there weren't obvious clues, obviously, but there were a lot of little clues hidden around because his crest was a dragon head.
I have such a difficulty keeping secrets that way, and like for that long.
And that's something I decided first thing. I'm like, this empire is actually being run by a gold dragon who transmorphs into a human, and then he lives out that human's life and ages them, and then because he
and
then plays his own hair.
right.
And then has a kid, kills them, and and then becomes their own heir.
Right.
Easy peasy. All you have to do is steal a child and transmorph it into your thing.
Right.
And then that kid grows up as your heir, and then you murder them and take their place.
Yep.
It's a totally good thing to do. It's a gold dragon.
Right.
Stu wins gaming. I'm sorry.
Never do a deal with the dragon.
I'm done. Yeah, no, dragons.
Well, I specifically picked a gold dragon because they're supposed to be
'cause
like
they can.
lawful good. And,
Yeah.
They're pretty.
Yeah.
I'm broken.
Yeah, no, that's like the idea of like the players get to choose which like group they want to be with. Like they don't know it's the Fae, but like they're doing these sorts of things. The devil's doing these sorts of things. The dragon's doing like the dragon might be lawful and be like, no, I am stamping out corruption.
Yeah.
And so it looks like they're fucking killing a bunch of people.
Right. Especially the rogue in the party fucking hates that guy.
Yeah. Whereas the devil is like, hey man, it's like party time.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean, there's corruption, but
What are
I
you
mean,
using your soul for anyway?
The best way to control crime is to organize it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
They're just protecting like the consistency and the lives of the people around you.
So then they give up their soul, and then suddenly they realize soul is where the magic comes from, and they can't do magic now because they don't own their soul anymore. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do
and
that. That's
the
shit,
Faes
right?
are like,
The Fae in my game are literally giving a girl powers because she keeps giving them her freckles. Like,
Yeah. See, I'll tell.
most random
the
shit.
Fae are like David Bowie, so I'm on that team.
Yeah.
the one of the things in the Call of Cthulhu game that I'm kind of leaning towards.
No.
No, I can say this is a couple of years is the party's not going to see a lot of alien stuff. Mm-hmm. What they're going to see is cultists. Mm-hmm. Cultists are humans. They're going to be a little more, not necessarily predictable, but the party will be able to reason out why they're doing what they're doing, probably.
Right, because
They have similar brains.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm kind of leaning more towards cultists than I am towards Deep Ones and Star Spawn of Cthulhu and stuff like that.
And I think there are more cultists who think that the Elder Gods will give them power than there are cultists who know that they just want to be eaten first because the Elder Gods are coming no matter what.
Right. Well, they've revised some of that in the 7th edition book.
Oh, they have?
There are some cultists who will not devour their worshippers.
Oh, some Elder Gods?
Some Elder Gods will not, and it specifically says generally doesn't devour their worshippers.
Do you remember the damage for when Cthulhu shows up and grabs a player and throws it in?
Oh, that stuff is still astronomical. It's still astronomical, and it's even more so now because now all of your stats, instead of being like what, some roughly between 3 through 18, it's now you use percentile dice when you're making stat rolls now. So you roll the stat and multiply it by 5. Mm-hmm. So you can roll it within a percentile, within a D100. Mm-hmm. So, like, Cthulhu probably had a strength of 105 or 110 in the earlier versions. Now it's 600. Because he needs to have a damage bonus of 30d6.
That's insane.
And some
it's insane.
right. And some of them, it's like they show up, and as soon as they show up, everyone just takes an enormous amount of damage. And sanity, if you get the chance to make the sanity roll, which you probably won't.
Yeah.
Because you have, I don't know, a lot of hit points in Call of Cthulhu now is like 11.
Right.
So
I was recently on Art Lovecraft for some Cthulhu reason, I forget what it was, and there were a bunch of people who were like, non-Euclidean geometry means unfathomable by human minds.
Right.
And I thought that was hilarious, because non-Euclidean geometry is just geometry that's not on a plane.
Right. It's on a sphere
on a
or
sphere,
something
yeah,
else,
yeah.
right?
Like, oh, you writers.
So should I spoil the song I played for you guys as the closing song?
Yeah.
But first, I want to thank
Okay.
Steven SoCal so much for that email.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
that was a
Because
good one.
if you hadn't read that email, like, Stu might have gone to his grave. Fucking
Oh, yeah.
never fucking
'Cause he just-
letting us know what happened.
I assume you just keep on forgetting to say what it was.
Never even occurred to me to mention it until I read that.
Literally years. Like, years.
Like 10?
Well, the original
Like-
game, we started it before we
10
started the
Oh,
podcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was like 11
2007.
years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, it was like 10 years ago.
No, August is the anniversary, 10-year
But
anniversary
we,
of the podcast.
we started playing it in that spring, is when we started playing.
Right, it's not spring anymore. So August,
But it was-
10 years ago
It's
is when the
still 10
podcast
years.
started.
10 years and a few months.
Oh, you know what? You're right. It is. You're right. Because I keep thinking we're in our 9th year, but we're actually in our 10th year.
Yes,
Yeah.
we in August
Right.
we are hitting our 10-year anniversary.
Right.
Got it.
So yeah, I don't know if I ever would have mentioned it if I had run.
Right. Steve, you have solved
was-
one of the great mysteries of the universe. Thank you.
See,
Thank you.
that's what I love about just like creating backstory. it's researching for a game is one of my favorite things in the world. I just fucking love it.
Oh, it's the best.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
the best.
stall for a second while I
Okay.
load up
It's-
Dropbox to get this on.
Like reading about the Carpathia
Yeah.
and when it was actually there and how
Right.
far it was away and
Yeah.
how many knots they would have to go faster in order to get there in time to do something, and then having a player do that so you actually managed to get there
Right.
before everything was dead.
Yeah. Okay, it hasn't been as long as I thought it was, but we finished the last Eldemy campaign February of 2016.
Okay, but that was the orc one
That was
with
the
the orcs
second
in
one,
it.
right? But that's still like 3 years for you keeping a secret. You're not great at secrets.
But I figure that the Gold Dragon was dead by then.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh.
because he was going to die during that
the first
campaign. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant like the through line of both campaigns. Wow. Now I want to run that campaign. It's so good.
Now you know the ending. I can't run it now.
Well,
Yeah,
that's,
see?
that's why I can.
You can run it. Yeah.
But you can run it after, like, starting with the Gold Dragon's death, because we already know. That'd be a super fascinating thing. What is the political fallout of finding out that your leader is not actually human?
Oh, that's true.
You might oh god damn it, I wish we had another gold dragon leading us. that guy was really good. Oh no, orcs. Boy, I wish we had a gold dragon on our goddamn side.
Orcs are great. Orcs are great. They're
Orcs-
smart.
Orcs are great. However, they are great at killing people when you are not orc.
Yeah. Well, in the second campaign, the orcs were, like, part of Eldemy. It was very complicated.
Oh, okay. This all needs to go away.
All of the conversation about your game
No, that
Oh.
all this stuff is popping up.
on your computer?
Yeah, because
No.
I logged into Dropbox
Oh, that was dumb.
for the song.
Yeah, that was.
Is it going to give me a player? Oh, good, it's giving me a player.
James V in the chat room says Kimmy is always right, and Stu should know by now. Thank you, James V.
All right.
Suck up.
Whatever. 10 years. And other doc says 10 years. Damn, I feel old. How do you think we feel?
Yeah.
Like, you've literally been there for us aging.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So
I was listening to our Ghostbusters game the other day and the first L5R campaign, and I'm just like listening to my voice. I'm like, I sound like I'm 5. I sound so young.
and I sound 50.
And now you sound 50.
And
Yeah.
now I sound 52. Okay, I'm going to play this. Now this is a song that would totally spoil the vibe of a Call of Cthulhu game that's supposed to be
Yes.
Serious, yeah.
and we're gonna get dinged for copyright.
It's
so
fine. It's worth it.
There's going to be all kinds of pre-rolls on this video at some point.
The Cthulhu game will actually be a serious like drama campaign, but so don't let this this is not the feel of the campaign, but it's amazing.
No, not at all. Make sure I got the volume up.
Yeah, it's so
Do some
good.
other ones.
It's really worth it. It's very fun.
Oh no, that's the wrong song. Hold on. That's the one I played last week. Hold on.
This is your song. How can you not know the chords?
I'll find it. Give me a second.
We've all had those moments, except you're a drummer, so.
No, that's from the first Poxy Boggart album.
I know.
All right. I found it.
But I've had those moments too.
Yeah.
It's like, say along. Oh,
And
I
I
don't remember the words. I wrote them. It's
I
fine.
literally came up with the idea for this song on my drive home today, and between the time that I got home and we started the podcast, I recorded it.
Yeah, you should be annoyed at Stu's amazing.
Although
ability to
I
write
cheated and used a karaoke version.
That's fine. Oh, God.
I see what's happening here. You're face to face with strangers, and it's strange. You don't even know how you feel. It's understandable. It's nice to know that humans are deranged. Open your eyes, let's begin. Yes, it's really me. It's Haster. Take it in. I know it's a lot. The pus, the pods. When you're staring at another god. What can I say except you're crazy for the unspeakableness that is I. Hey, it's okay, you're crazy. I'm just an ordinary elder guy. Back on Carcosa, I wiped them away for not preying on a Haster day. Who made all the barren star to glow? Hey, you're looking at him, yo. And that yellow king you spy, it's really just me in disguise. I taught the vultures to fly.